Have you ever felt your energy drain the moment someone enters the room? The instant a negative word, a complaint, or a judgment lands on your mind, and suddenly your calm, your focus, your sense of self feels invaded, almost as if your inner fortress has a hidden door that you didn't even know existed? Imagine for a moment that this isn't random, and it's not because the world is inherently cruel. Imagine instead that this is a test, a mirror, reflecting your inner weaknesses back to you, forcing you to confront the one thing you often ignore, your own response. The Stoics believed that our emotions, our sense of disturbance, is never caused by external events, but by the judgments we make about them. Marcus Aurelius, a man who led an empire, yet struggled with the same petty irritations as you and I, once wrote, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." But how does one live that in a world that seems engineered to provoke, to frustrate, and to drag us into conflict? This is where the first subtle, almost hidden power of Stoicism reveals itself. The mastery over your energy is not about changing others. It's about changing the lens through which you see them. And yet most of us stumble here. We react reflexively to negativity with anger, with sarcasm, or with withdrawal, not realizing that every second spent ruminating on someone else's toxic behavior is a second stolen from our own peace. Epictetus, who spent his life as a slave yet became one of the most revered teachers of resilience in history, put it bluntly, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Think about that for a moment. Every insult, every petty remark, every energy-sucking interaction is essentially neutral. It is your interpretation, your willingness to give it weight, that transforms it into poison. And herein lies the paradox that most never notice. The people who try to drain your energy, to provoke you, or to pull you into their storms are actually handing you a gift, a chance to exercise your inner strength, to test your calm, to practice your discipline in real time. Cleanthes, the Stoic philosopher who said, "Lead me, Zeus, and you, fate, wherever you have assigned me," reminds us that life is not about choosing only pleasant experiences, but about responding with integrity and steadiness no matter what is thrown at us. By the end of this video, I'm going to reveal 3 powerful Stoic responses so subtle yet so effective that even the most persistent negative person will find their attempts at disruption powerless. These aren't just techniques, they are transformations of our inner world. But before we get there, you must understand the invisible mechanism behind negativity, the mental trap that most people fall into every single day, and the ancient wisdom that shows a different, stronger path. So I ask you, what if you could face the most toxic people in your life and emerge unscathed, calm, and even untouched? What if you could turn their negativity into a mirror that strengthens you, rather than a weapon that weakens you? That's what we're uncovering today. Because once you understand it, your energy becomes unbreakable, your focus unstoppable, and your peace inviolable. And the first step, the one that the Stoics insisted on, is far simpler and more profound than you ever imagined.
The first Stoic response to negativity is deceptively simple, yet most people completely overlook it. Silence as a shield. Imagine this. You're at work and a colleague corners you with criticism, thinly veiled as advice. Their tone is sharp, almost dripping with disdain. Most of us feel the reflex, the urge to defend ourselves, to justify, to push back. But the Stoics teach us to pause, to observe. Epictetus, once a slave and yet a master of inner freedom, advised, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." The power here is in restraint, not in suppression, but in conscious choice. Neuroscience confirms this ancient wisdom. When we react impulsively to provocation, our amygdala, the emotional fight or flight center of the brain, takes over, flooding us with stress hormones that hijack rational thinking. By pausing, By stepping into silence, you allow your prefrontal cortex, the seat of reason and self-control, to reassert itself. This is where your energy is protected. Silence doesn't mean weakness. It is a deliberate strategy to conserve your vitality. Let me tell you a story. Marcus Aurelius, despite ruling an empire, faced endless criticism, political plots, and personal betrayals. Yet in his journals, he repeatedly notes that the path to tranquility lies not in confrontation, but in measured response. One entry reads, "When another irritates you, remember that he acts out of ignorance, and you are free to remain calm." This is the essence of the Stoic shield, understanding that negativity says more about the person speaking than it does about you. And the beauty of silence is that it transforms the encounter. The negative person, expecting a reaction, receives none. Their power evaporates because energy flows where attention goes, and your attention is no longer a hostage to their emotional storm. Modern psychology calls this emotional immunity, and it's astonishingly effective. By choosing silence, you essentially say, "Your attempt to disturb me fails," without a single word. This practice is not easy at first. Our brains are wired to respond, to protect, to engage. But repeated consciously, it rewires our default reaction patterns. And here's the subtle twist that most people miss. Silence doesn't just protect you in that moment, it trains your mind to detect which battles are worth your energy. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more who is poor." Replace craving with reacting, and you see the parallel. Overreacting to every negative person depletes your mental wealth. By exercising restraint, by deliberately holding back, you gain a reservoir of calm that can be drawn upon in any storm. Imagine a world where every petty insult, every snide remark, every energy-sucking conversation simply bounces off you because you have learned the art of measured response. That is the first Stoic response. And here's the open loop I want you to hold on to. Silence is just the beginning. It shields your energy, yes, but it also primes you for the next response, one that is even subtler, more powerful, and almost counterintuitive, yet will transform your relationship with negativity entirely. Before we reveal it, understand this. Silence is not a passive act. It is an active declaration of inner sovereignty, a refusal to allow external chaos to dictate your inner climate. And as you practice it, you'll start noticing a profound shift. The negative people don't seem as threatening, as urgent, or as exhausting. Your energy returns. Your focus sharpens. Your peace becomes not an occasional respite, but a constant companion. Yet, even as silence guards you, there is a deeper layer, an emotional alchemy that the Stoics developed over decades of reflection, trial, and error. And that is where the second response begins to reveal its quiet but transformative power.
The second Stoic response to negative people is deceptively radical. Reframe their actions as lessons, not attacks. Imagine someone cuts you off in traffic or sends a scathing message at work. Most people feel irritation, anger, or even resentment. But the Stoics urge us to flip the script entirely. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, every encounter with negativity isn't an obstacle, it is a path, a test, a training ground for inner strength. Let me illustrate. Epictetus, even while enslaved, encountered cruelty daily. Yet he trained himself to interpret these experiences not as misfortunes, but as opportunities to exercise virtue, patience, calm, empathy. Imagine seeing every rude remark, every petty criticism, every undermining colleague not as a personal assault, but as a mirror reflecting your own growth. Neuroscience validates this. When you consciously reinterpret stressful social interactions as learning opportunities, your brain releases fewer stress hormones and more dopamine, reinforcing resilience and emotional control. It's like turning poison into fuel. This mental reframing is not naive,
It's strategic. It allows you to maintain your energy and perspective while others are trapped in their reactive cycles. Let me tell you a story from history. The Stoic philosopher Seneca, advisor to Nero, lived amid constant political intrigue and betrayal. He recounts that the envy, malice, and ignorance of others were never reasons for despair, but chances to practice wisdom, moderation, and self-discipline. Every negative person became a personal mentor in disguise, testing patience and sharpening judgment. This is the second response in action, the reframing of negativity as opportunity. Modern psychology calls this cognitive reappraisal, and it is one of the most effective techniques for emotional resilience. The moment you consciously reinterpret a negative interaction, you remove its power to disturb you. Here's an example. Suppose a colleague harshly criticizes your work. You could react with defensiveness, resentment, or even withdrawal, allowing their negativity to drain your energy. Or you could reframe. Perhaps their criticism, however poorly delivered, highlights an area where you can improve. Perhaps their frustration is more about them than you. By interpreting the incident as a lesson, your energy is preserved and you grow stronger, wiser, and more self-controlled. The Stoics insist that your power lies in your perception, not in controlling others. Negative people will always exist. What matters is whether you let them dictate your inner state. And here's a subtle, almost paradoxical truth. The more negativity you reframe, the more invulnerable you become, not by shutting out the world, but by transforming how the world touches you. This is why the Stoics viewed life itself as a school, with each human interaction a test of virtue. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, said, "Man conquers the world by conquering himself." Reframing negativity is exactly that conquest. Yet, as you practice this, there is a third, even more astonishing response, one so subtle and powerful that it turns negativity into harmless noise, leaving your energy intact no matter the storm. But before we reveal it, understand this. Silence shields your energy, reframing strengthens it, and together they prepare you for the final mastery, the third Stoic response that transforms confrontation into peace, conflict into clarity, and negativity into nothing more than background static. And that mastery, though simple in principle, requires consistent practice, discipline, and a willingness to see beyond the immediate discomfort into the long-term freedom it offers.
The third Stoic response to negative people is the most profound, yet the least practiced. Detach your judgment from their behavior. This doesn't mean ignoring reality or suppressing emotion. It means understanding, at a deep level, that negativity resides in them, not in you. Imagine standing in a storm. Most people get drenched because they mistake the wind and rain for personal attacks. The Stoics teach us that storms exist, but getting wet is optional. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is wrong, I will gladly change, but I will not be disturbed by their foolishness." Here lies the subtlety. By refusing to attach your judgment to someone else's negativity, you immune yourself. Let me give you a real-world example. Consider Epictetus, who endured the cruelty of masters, public humiliation, and society's disdain. He observed, dissected, and accepted events exactly as they were. He did not project self-worth or failure onto them. Instead, he focused on what he could control, his own mind, his own actions, and his own responses. Modern neuroscience calls this emotional decoupling, a process in which we separate the automatic emotional response from the stimulus itself. When negative behavior no longer triggers your fight or flight reaction, your energy remains intact, your clarity preserved. This is not theoretical, it's practical mastery. Think about a friend who constantly complains, criticizes, or belittles you. The usual response is reactive, anger, argument, or withdrawal. The Stoic path, however, is to observe without judgment. Their words may sting, but they no longer define your emotional landscape. Cleanthes, the Stoic who lived with humility and diligence, expressed this beautifully. "Lead me, Zeus, and you, fate, wherever you have assigned me." Acceptance of reality, combined with detachment from others' negativity, is what transforms chaos into calm. Imagine seeing negative people not as threats, but as actors performing a script that has nothing to do with your life's direction. Their words, their energy, their criticism, it's all external noise. You retain your sovereignty. And here's the paradox. The more detached your judgment, the more empathy you cultivate. By not reacting, you actually understand human behavior more clearly, recognizing insecurity, fear, and ignorance as the roots of negativity. Seneca reinforced this. There is no person so wicked that he is wholly without good. When you separate your response from someone else's negativity, you protect your energy and elevate your understanding, simultaneously cultivating inner strength and compassion. This third response, detachment, is the culmination of the first two. Silence shields, reframing strengthens, and detachment transcends. Together they form an unbreakable triad, a stoic armor against anyone who seeks to drain your vitality. But here's the critical point. Mastery isn't instant. It's a daily practice, a commitment to self-awareness, discipline, and reflection. And yet, the rewards are profound. Freedom from distraction, emotional clarity, and a peace that remains unshaken even in the presence of the most persistent negativity. By the end of this journey, you'll realize that negative people are not obstacles. They are instruments, mirrors of your inner fortitude, and opportunities to refine your mind. The next paragraphs will reveal stories, practical exercises, and deeper insights that transform these three responses from abstract philosophy into lived, everyday mastery. And once you integrate them, the way you move through the world, the way your energy interacts with others, and the way you navigate life's storms will be fundamentally and irreversibly changed. Now that you understand the three Stoic responses, silence, reframing, and detachment, the real question becomes, how do you implement them in your daily life without feeling robotic or detached from reality? The answer lies in practice, reflection, and deliberate habit formation. Imagine waking up tomorrow and encountering someone who normally triggers your anger, perhaps a critical boss, a complaining family member, or a friend who constantly undermines you. Most people would immediately react, their energy hijacked, their peace dissolved. But what if instead you approached the situation as a conscious experiment? Start with silence. Pause before responding. Let the words wash over you like water on stone. Acknowledge them without absorption. This is not ignoring reality. It's creating a buffer between stimulus and reaction. Neuroscientists call this response inhibition, a function of the prefrontal cortex that allows you to override automatic emotional impulses. The more you practice, the stronger this pause muscle becomes. Next, bring in reframing. In your mind, reinterpret the interaction. Perhaps your colleague's harsh words indicate their own stress, not your inadequacy. Perhaps the criticism exposes a blind spot you hadn't noticed. Every negative encounter becomes a lesson disguised as adversity. Marcus Aurelius faced constant betrayal, yet he consistently reframed his experiences as exercises in virtue. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength, he wrote. This isn't abstract philosophy, it's an actionable mental habit. Finally, apply detachment. Recognize that the negativity originates in the other person. It is their behavior, their fear, their insecurity. By mentally separating your judgment from their words, you protect your energy and maintain clarity. Epictetus practiced this relentlessly, even while enslaved, reminding himself that no external circumstance could harm his inner freedom. To make this practical, try a simple exercise. The next time someone provokes you, silently label the stimulus. Say in your mind, this is their ignorance, This is not my responsibility. Pause. Reframe. Detach. You'll be surprised how quickly your emotional response diminishes. Over time, this becomes instinctive. Negative people lose their power. Your energy remains intact. Your focus sharpens. And here's a subtle yet critical point. These practices are cumulative. Silence alone shields you, but when combined with reframing and detachment, they create an invincible mental triad. The Stoics didn't claim this was easy. Discipline, consistency, and reflection are required. Zeno of Citium emphasized that virtue is the only true good, and all external events are neither good nor bad. Every negative encounter becomes a microcosm of this principle, a chance to exercise virtue, maintain composure, and protect your energy. As you integrate these responses into your life, you'll notice a profound shift. Interactions that once drained you now pass without impact. Conflicts that once escalated now dissolve into calm observation. And negativity, which once felt like a storm, becomes little more than background noise. But the transformation doesn't stop there. To fully internalize these responses, we must explore the emotional rhythm behind them, the internal narrative that often sabotages our peace before negativity even arrives. And that's where the next paragraph takes us, diving deeper into the psychology of anticipation, expectation, and the preemptive protection of your energy. Understanding this will elevate your mastery from reactive skill to proactive sovereignty.
The Stoics understood something most people overlook. It's not only the negativity you encounter in the moment that drains you. It's the fear, expectation, and mental rehearsals that happen before the encounter even occurs. Imagine knowing you'll meet a difficult person tomorrow. Most minds instantly spiral. What will they say? How will I react? I don't want to feel angry or frustrated again. This anticipatory anxiety is a stealthy thief of energy. Marcus Aurelius warned against letting your mind wander into future battles, writing, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." In practical terms, he was teaching preemptive clarity, preparing your mind to meet challenges without surrendering your composure. Here's how it works in the modern mind. Neuroscience shows that our brains simulate scenarios before they happen, releasing stress hormones as if the threat were real. By anticipating negativity without proper control, you essentially exhaust yourself before the real challenge even begins. The Stoic response is twofold. First, mental rehearsal of virtue. Before encountering someone negative, visualize yourself responding with silence, reframing, and detachment. See yourself staying calm while they complain, criticize, or provoke. Feel the sense of sovereignty in your body, the relaxed shoulders, steady breath, unshaken mind. Second, emotional inoculation. Remind yourself that negativity is not personal. The person may be angry, jealous, or frustrated, but their emotions are theirs, not yours. Epictetus emphasized, keep your attention on what is your own concern and dismiss what belongs to others. This is not intellectual detachment alone. It is a bodily, emotional, and cognitive preparation that strengthens your resilience. Let me give you an example. Consider a parent preparing to deal with a teenage child's tantrum, or a leader anticipating a volatile board meeting. Both scenarios are filled with predictable negativity. Instead of reacting spontaneously, the Stoic approach is to anticipate the worst behavior, rehearse your responses, and then meet the moment fully prepared. By doing this, you preserve energy, remain composed, and act deliberately instead of reactively. Seneca, who faced relentless political intrigue, often reminded himself to travel inward, for there lies true freedom. Preemptive mental preparation is exactly this inward travel, creating a psychological fortress before negativity even arrives. And here's the subtle secret most miss. The anticipation itself, when reframed as practice rather than threat, becomes a source of strength. You are training your mind, sculpting your reactions, and turning potential stress into opportunity for mastery. Modern psychology calls this stress inoculation, and it is one of the most powerful tools for emotional resilience. By rehearsing calm in advance, by visualizing reframing and detachment, your mind automatically shifts into a state of readiness. Negativity no longer surprises you. It challenges you only in the ways you choose to allow. The preemptive practice creates a rhythm of emotional sovereignty, silence, reframing, detachment, so that when the real interaction occurs, you operate not from reflex, but from conscious mastery. And here's the open loop to hold on to. This mental rehearsal doesn't just protect you in specific interactions, it fundamentally rewires your energy system. Over time, you begin to notice that your default state is calm, your inner fortress intact, and even the most persistent negative people cannot disrupt your mental equilibrium. This sets the stage for the next transformative insight: how to turn repeated exposure to negativity into deliberate growth, making even the harshest interactions fuel for your personal strength and emotional evolution.
Once you have mastered silence, reframing, detachment, and preemptive preparation, the Stoics reveal an even more profound step: transforming negative encounters into catalysts for personal growth. Most people see negativity as a drain, a weight that saps energy and clouds judgment. But what if, instead, it were the raw material for your mental and emotional evolution? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Every negative person, every critical comment, every frustrating situation is an obstacle with a hidden advantage. It forces you to practice virtue, discipline, and emotional control in real time. Consider a modern scenario. A team member unfairly criticizes your work. A friend constantly complains, or a family member provokes you. Your immediate reaction might be irritation, defensiveness, or withdrawal. But if you shift your perspective, these encounters become training grounds for resilience. Epictetus, reflecting on his own life of slavery and adversity, noted that it is not suffering itself that weakens us, but the failure to exercise reason in response. Each challenge is an invitation to strengthen your inner muscles: patience, clarity, and self-mastery. Neuroscience validates this ancient insight. Repeated controlled exposure to stressors, when met with conscious response rather than reflexive reaction, trains the brain's prefrontal cortex to regulate the amygdala more effectively. Essentially, every negative encounter becomes a mini-workout for your emotional system. Let me illustrate with a historical example. Seneca, who endured political machinations and envy throughout his career, often faced manipulative individuals. Rather than reacting with bitterness, he reflected, observed, and used each encounter to practice detachment, reframing, and measured response. He wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." This is the exact mindset the Stoics cultivated. Negativity becomes not a threat, but an instrument of self-improvement. In daily life, this could mean actively asking yourself in the midst of conflict, what can I learn from this? How can I grow stronger? How can I maintain my peace? By asking these questions, you turn an energy-draining interaction into a deliberate opportunity to fortify yourself. This approach also shifts your identity. No longer are you someone who merely reacts to the moods, words, or actions of others. You become a person whose internal state is sovereign, whose energy is self-directed, and whose peace is intentionally cultivated. Even the most persistent negative people, once potent disruptors, become irrelevant in their ability to disturb you. And here's a subtle but vital insight. The more you practice this, the more negative encounters lose their emotional sting, yet simultaneously sharpen your discernment and empathy. You begin to see the underlying causes of negativity in others: fear, insecurity, ignorance, without being dragged into their emotional turbulence. Cleanthes reminds us, "Lead me, Zeus, and you, fate, wherever you have assigned me." In other words, Life itself, with all its friction and challenge, is not something to resist, but a force to flow with, using every encounter as a forge for character. By turning negativity into fuel, you complete the transformation of every exhausting interaction. What once would have left you depleted now leaves you empowered, more aware, and profoundly resilient. Yet even after mastering these practices, there is a higher refinement, a level of awareness where your energy becomes not only protected, but actively optimized, where your responses align seamlessly with virtue, purpose, and inner freedom. And that refinement, which we will explore in the next paragraph, reveals the ultimate secret to living as a Stoic in a world full of negativity.
Once you have learned to silence reactive impulses, reframe negativity, detach judgment, anticipate challenges, and transform adversity into growth, the next step is integration, making these practices seamless elements of your daily life rather than isolated strategies used only in moments of obvious conflict. Think of it as moving from practicing scales on a piano to performing a full symphony effortlessly. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius didn't meditate only during crises. He journaled every morning, reminding himself of the principles he wished to embody. He wrote, "Begin each day by telling yourself, 'Today I shall meet with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness, and I will remember they all spring from ignorance of good and evil.'" This is daily preconditioning. By expecting negativity, rehearsing your responses, and reflecting on your mind's sovereignty, you turn philosophical principles into lived habits. But integration isn't purely intellectual, it's embodied. Epictetus repeatedly emphasized that virtue is exercised through action, not theory. The body, voice, and mind all participate in the practice. If a colleague interrupts with criticism, your calm posture, measured tone, and patient demeanor reinforce your internal mastery. The physical manifestation of Stoicism, steady breathing, relaxed muscles, deliberate pauses, strengthens the neural pathways that support emotional resilience. Modern neuroscience confirms that repeated physical and mental practice rewires the brain, making composure your default state rather than a rare exception. Another dimension of integration is reflection and journaling. Daily reflection allows you to notice patterns of reactivity, track progress, and reinforce mastery over negativity. Seneca recommended nightly reflection, reviewing your interactions, noting moments of strength and weakness, and planning improvement for the next day. This habit anchors your energy, transforming scattered encounters into structured growth opportunities. Integration also involves intentional exposure. Once you are prepared and resilient, seek out situations where you might normally be triggered, not to suffer, but to practice mastery. This deliberate exposure accelerates growth, turning challenges into training grounds for your mind and character. Imagine a scenario: a family gathering filled with gossip and complaints. Instead of retreating or reacting, you engage with calm observation, silently applying silence, reframing, and detachment. Each interaction reinforces your ability to maintain peace under pressure. Over weeks and months, these small, repeated exercises create a robust internal environment, an invisible fortress of energy, focus, and composure. And here's the subtle wisdom that most miss. The more seamlessly these practices are integrated, the less they feel like effort. Stoicism stops being a set of rules or techniques and becomes a natural way of being, where your response to negativity is instinctively aligned with reason, virtue, and self-sovereignty. Cleanthes, in his reflection on life, emphasized endurance, patience, and alignment with the natural order. Similarly, the modern practitioner experiences a profound shift. Negativity no longer feels like friction against the self. It becomes like wind passing through a well-anchored tree, felt, acknowledged,
but ultimately harmless. By integrating Stoic responses into your daily rhythm, you create a state where energy cannot be stolen, focus cannot be fractured, and peace cannot be disturbed. And once you achieve this level of integration, you are prepared to reach the final stage of mastery, a stage where negativity, no matter how persistent or malicious, is no longer an event to endure, but a tool to deepen your wisdom, sharpen your discernment, and elevate your life. The next paragraph will reveal this ultimate refinement, the culmination of the Stoic approach to protecting your energy in every aspect of life. The ultimate refinement in mastering negativity is what the Stoics considered true freedom, the ability to remain untouched even amidst chaos, while simultaneously perceiving it with clarity and compassion. This is the level where negativity ceases to be an external threat and instead becomes a mirror reflecting your inner state, offering constant feedback on the quality of your attention and your commitment to virtue. Imagine walking into a room where criticism, gossip, or hostility is erupting. The untrained mind reacts with tension, defensiveness, or agitation. The Stoic mind, however, observes without internalizing, responds with discretion rather than reflex, and moves through the environment without losing composure. Marcus Aurelius wrote, quote, "Reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears." Here lies the paradox. Freedom is not the absence of negativity, it is the mastery of your mind's response to it. By combining silence, reframing, detachment, anticipatory preparation, and deliberate integration, you cultivate a state where your inner peace is no longer contingent on external circumstances. Every negative person becomes a teacher, every harsh word a lesson, and every provocation an opportunity to practice virtue. Epictetus emphasized, quote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And mastery extends even further. As you grow, you recognize patterns of negativity not to judge, control, or resist them, but to understand the human condition. You see that anger, criticism, envy, and complaint are born of fear, ignorance, and desire. This understanding fosters compassion, not weakness. Cleanthes reminds us that life is guided by reason and fate. When negativity arises, it does so according to the natural order, and your response can either align with that order or fight against it. The fully refined practitioner aligns with nature, remaining unshaken while observing all events clearly. Neuroscience confirms that this level of mastery strengthens emotional regulation, increases resilience, and enhances empathy, essentially creating a mind that thrives in complexity rather than collapsing under it. This is the difference between surviving negative interactions and transforming them into active exercises in self-sovereignty. Consider a historical scenario. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, faced not only personal betrayal, but also political sabotage, war, and social unrest. Yet his journals reflect calm clarity and moral focus, demonstrating that mastery over negativity is not about controlling others, but about mastering the self. In daily life, this refinement means no words, no insults, no passive-aggressive act, and no attempt at manipulation can penetrate the calm core of your energy. You respond with clarity when needed, remain silent when appropriate, and see each challenge as a reflection of life's opportunities rather than threats. But here's the profound insight. Mastery over negativity is not a destination, it is a living practice. Each day offers new lessons, each encounter offers refinement, and each moment of temptation to react offers a chance to strengthen your sovereignty. Seneca captures this beautifully. We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality. By internalizing this, negativity loses its power. Your energy becomes unassailable, and your mind becomes a sanctuary. And as you continue this practice, you begin to notice something extraordinary. People who once triggered anger or frustration now exist as instruments of your growth. Their words, their attitudes, and even their malice become fuel for reflection, discipline, and calm action. This is the culmination of the Stoic approach. Negativity is transformed from an obstacle into a mirror, a teacher, and ultimately a tool for cultivating unwavering energy and peace. In the next paragraphs, we will explore practical rituals, exercises, and daily reflections that make this ultimate mastery tangible, repeatable, and real for modern life, ensuring that your energy remains protected no matter the circumstances. Mastery over negativity is not only philosophical, it is practical, repeatable, and ritualized. The Stoics understood that consistent practice, rather than occasional inspiration, creates resilience that lasts a lifetime. Marcus Aurelius began each day with reflection, asking himself what challenges he might face and how he would respond virtuously. This morning preparation is essential. It primes the mind, strengthens focus, and protects energy before the day even begins. Start your day with a brief meditation or journaling session. Identify potential encounters with negativity and visualize yourself applying silence, reframing, and detachment. Picture yourself navigating these interactions calmly, responding only when necessary, and maintaining your peace throughout. Modern neuroscience supports this. Mental rehearsal strengthens neural pathways associated with self-control, anticipation, and emotional regulation, effectively training your brain to respond with composure in real time. Another ritual involves midday checks, pauses throughout your day to assess your emotional state. Are you holding residual tension from earlier interactions? Are you projecting judgment onto situations that do not yet warrant it? These pauses act like a reset button, allowing you to reclaim energy and realign your responses. Epictetus emphasized the value of constant self-monitoring. First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Daily reflection ensures that you are not merely reacting, but acting with deliberate intention. Evening rituals are equally important. Before bed, review the day. Where did you succeed in protecting your energy? Where did negativity penetrate? And how could you respond better next time? Seneca advised nightly reflection as a means of continuous improvement, writing, "Every day we must ask ourselves, what have I done to harm none, to harm myself not, to act with virtue?" By practicing these reflections, journaling your experiences, and reinforcing Stoic principles, your mind gradually shifts from being reactive to proactive. Beyond journaling, physical rituals such as mindful breathing, mindful meditation, or intentional pauses before responding anchor your internal state in the present moment. Neuroscience confirms that combining physical practice with cognitive rehearsal strengthens emotional resilience even further, integrating body and mind in harmony. Another subtle ritual is energy auditing, consciously noting where your mental and emotional energy is being spent. Are negative people draining you more than necessary? Are you overreacting to minor provocations? Identifying these patterns allows you to apply silence, reframing, and detachment more strategically. Over time, these rituals, morning preparation, midday checks, evening reflection, physical grounding, and energy auditing, create a durable armor of inner stability. Negativity may swirl around you, but your energy remains intact, your mind remains clear, and your peace remains unshaken. And here's the open loop for you to consider. The real power of these rituals is cumulative. Each day you practice, each reflection, each pause, each conscious response strengthens your mastery, transforming your daily life into a continuous exercise of virtue, calm, and resilience. The next paragraph will explore real-life stories of people who applied these Stoic practices and experienced radical transformation in their ability to maintain energy and peace despite relentless negativity. These examples will show that mastery is not theoretical. It is lived, practical, and profoundly liberating. Theory alone is never enough. The real power of Stoicism shines when you see it applied, tested, and proven in the lives of people just like you. Take, for example, a modern corporate manager named Amina.
She led a high-stakes team in a competitive environment where criticism, sabotage, and constant negativity were the norm. Initially, she felt overwhelmed, her energy drained, her focus fractured, her patience tested daily. Then she discovered Stoicism, and she began to implement its principles deliberately. First, she practiced silence, refusing to react impulsively to snide remarks or unjust criticism. By observing without immediate response, she created a buffer that shielded her energy. Her colleagues expected outrage, but Amina's calm became disarming. Next, she applied reframing. Criticism that once felt personal became an opportunity to identify areas for growth or to understand the insecurities driving the other person's behavior. Over time, even the harshest comments became fuel for her development. Finally, she mastered detachment, refusing to internalize negativity or let external chaos dictate her emotional state. She began to see every conflict as an opportunity for composure, every challenge as an arena for virtue. The result? Amina's energy, once drained daily, became almost unassailable. She reported feeling calmer, more focused, and even more effective in her leadership because she was no longer reacting to chaos. She was shaping her own internal environment. Another story comes from a university student named Kareem, constantly bombarded by roommates, peers, and social media negativity. Initially reactive, he felt anxious and emotionally exhausted. Inspired by Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, he started morning mental rehearsals, visualizing interactions and applying silence, reframing, and detachment in advance. He began noticing subtle shifts. Arguments fizzled before they began, complaints lost their emotional grip, and even social media trolling no longer disturbed his sense of self. Within weeks, Kareem felt a profound sense of sovereignty over his own mind. He was no longer a victim of others' moods, but a practitioner of calm and clarity. And then there's the story of Layla, a parent navigating a household filled with sibling rivalry, teenage rebellion, and endless complaints. Each day posed new challenges. Layla incorporated daily reflection, energy auditing, and deliberate pauses into her routine. By practicing these Stoic responses consistently, she transformed her home environment. Negative energy no longer dictated her mood. Patience became her default response, and even conflict became a training ground for virtue. These stories share a common thread. The combination of silence, reframing, detachment, anticipation, and integration transforms energy from something vulnerable into something unassailable. Neuroscience supports these lived experiences. Repeated conscious practice strengthens emotional regulation, rewires neural pathways for calm, and fosters resilience in the face of repeated stressors. But here's the subtle, almost magical aspect. Over time, mastery becomes invisible to others. The negative people around you may continue their patterns, but their power to disturb you diminishes until it is virtually non-existent. What once provoked exhaustion now passes like water over stone. This is not theory, it is life in action, a living proof of the Stoic promise. Negativity, no matter how persistent, can be met with composure, transformed into growth, and ultimately rendered harmless.
Mastery over negativity is not a one-time achievement, it is a lifelong practice. Even the most disciplined individuals face new challenges, shifting dynamics, and unexpected sources of stress. The Stoics understood that resilience must be cultivated continuously, not assumed once. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing, for it requires standing ready and strong against unexpected blows." This is a vivid reminder that life will always test your energy. The question is whether you are prepared to meet each test with composure and virtue. Long-term maintenance begins with self-awareness. Regularly auditing your interactions, reflecting on moments of emotional disruption, and identifying patterns of negativity allow you to respond proactively rather than reactively. Epictetus emphasized the importance of daily self-examination. When you are offended at any man's fault, turn to yourself and study your own failings. Then you will forget your anger. By turning your attention inward, you reduce the likelihood of being drained by external events. Another critical practice is habit reinforcement. The 3 Stoic responses, silence, reframing, and detachment, must become second nature. This is achieved through repetition, reflection, and deliberate application. Each encounter is a rehearsal. Each challenge is an opportunity to fortify your mental and emotional systems. Neuroscience supports this approach. Repeated practice strengthens neural circuits associated with emotional regulation, decision-making, and impulse control, making calm, measured responses increasingly automatic. Yet mastery also involves flexibility and adaptability. Negative people and situations evolve, and rigid adherence to a single strategy can be counterproductive. The Stoics teach us to be like water, firm in principle yet fluid in method. By observing each situation carefully, applying the appropriate response, whether silence, reframing, or detachment, and adjusting as necessary, your energy remains protected in a dynamic world. Another layer of long-term mastery is community and mentorship. While Stoicism emphasizes self-reliance, ancient philosophers frequently engaged in discussions, correspondence, and guidance with peers to refine their practice. Seeking wisdom from others, learning from those who have navigated similar challenges, and sharing insights not only deepens understanding, but also strengthens resolve. Imagine maintaining your energy not as a solitary act, but as part of a network of mutual reflection, accountability, and growth. Finally, long-term maintenance involves embracing the impermanence of all encounters. Cleanthes wrote, "Lead me, Zeus, and you, fate, wherever you have assigned me." Recognize that negative people, conflicts, and stressful situations are transient. Your responses, however, are permanent markers of your character. By consistently applying Stoic principles, you create an unshakable foundation that preserves energy regardless of external turbulence. Over time, this commitment transforms your life. Negativity no longer dictates mood, derails focus, or disrupts peace. Instead, it becomes a teacher, a reflection, and a practice field for virtue. And here's the open loop to consider. The mastery you build today compounds tomorrow, creating a resilient, sovereign mind capable of navigating any challenge. In the next paragraph, we will explore how to internalize all 3 Stoic responses fully, creating not just temporary protection, but lifelong immunity to energy-draining negativity and setting the stage for the final, profound reflection.
Internalizing the 3 Stoic responses, silence, reframing, and detachment, is the final step before reaching true mastery over negativity. At this stage, your practice moves beyond conscious effort and becomes instinctive, like breathing. Every interaction, every criticism, every provocation is met automatically with calm, clarity, and measured judgment. Marcus Aurelius referred to this as living according to nature, responding in alignment with reason and virtue without unnecessary resistance or hesitation. Think of it as embedding Stoicism into the very architecture of your mind. No longer do you pause consciously to apply silence because your inner habit naturally filters impulsive reactions. No longer do you consciously reframe negativity because your mind instinctively recognizes that external events are neutral and meaning is assigned by perception. And detachment, which once required effort, becomes a default lens, recognizing that the emotional turbulence of others is theirs, not yours. This deep internalization is supported by modern neuroscience. Repeated practice of these mental and emotional exercises strengthens the brain's prefrontal cortex and reduces amygdala hyperactivity.
Over time, the default state of the mind shifts from reactivity to composure, from susceptibility to invulnerability. Consider a modern professional navigating a high-pressure environment. Emails arrive with harsh criticism, colleagues argue, clients complain, yet the individual remains grounded. They respond only when appropriate, and their energy is preserved because the responses are no longer strategies, they are embodied habits. Historical Stoics modeled this as well. Epictetus, even while enslaved, moved through a world of cruelty and injustice with equanimity because his responses had been internalized over years of discipline and reflection. The subtle beauty of this stage is that negativity no longer has to be analyzed or consciously resisted. It simply fails to penetrate the mind. Your energy, focus, and peace become self-sustaining. Another key aspect of internalization is the merging of insight with intuition. You begin to recognize subtle patterns in behavior, anticipate potential disturbances, and navigate complex social dynamics with effortless composure. Silence, reframing, and detachment operate not as separate tools, but as a seamless whole. Even unexpected challenges, surprising criticisms, unfair accusations, or sudden conflicts are met with calm clarity as the body, mind, and spirit operate in harmony. Seneca wrote, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." Internalization amplifies this truth. The mind instinctively filters imaginary disturbances from real ones, preserving energy for what truly matters. And here's the final open loop before the ultimate reflection. The internalization of these responses is not the end of the journey, but the portal to freedom from external negativity. Once these principles are instinctive, every interaction becomes an opportunity to exercise virtue rather than a potential threat. You emerge untouchable, not through arrogance, but through disciplined mastery, insight, and compassionate awareness. In the next paragraph, we will close this journey with a powerful, emotionally moving reflection that ties all open loops together and leaves a lasting imprint of Stoic wisdom and personal empowerment. And now, at the culmination of this journey, you arrive at the Stoic truth that transforms every negative encounter into freedom, clarity, and strength. Silence, reframing, and detachment, once tools, then habits, then internalized instincts, merge into a profound way of living. Imagine walking through life like a river gliding past stones. Rocks may obstruct your path. Water may splash against you, yet the flow remains unbroken, unshaken, and purposeful. Marcus Aurelius captured this essence perfectly. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. In practice, it means that negativity no longer dictates your energy, focus, or emotional state. Each insult, criticism, or attempt to provoke you is met with calm observation. You do not react impulsively because your inner sovereignty has been forged through reflection, practice, and disciplined mastery. Reframing allows you to see challenges as opportunities for growth. Detachment ensures that the turbulence of others never invades your peace. And anticipatory preparation equips you to meet life with calm precision. The result is freedom. The freedom to act with virtue, clarity, and compassion regardless of external circumstances. Consider the subtle yet profound shift this creates in your relationships. Negative people no longer drain your vitality. Instead, they become mirrors reflecting areas for patience, understanding, and self-mastery. Your interactions, once stressful, now become exercises in conscious engagement, where every moment reinforces composure, discernment, and emotional resilience. Neuroscience confirms this lived reality. Your brain, trained through consistent practice, responds to triggers with regulation rather than reflex, making calmness your natural state
rather than an aspirational goal. History offers examples as well. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus all demonstrated that adversity and negativity are not obstacles to peace, they are instruments of inner refinement. By integrating these responses into daily life, they achieved composure and wisdom unmatched by those who sought external control. And here lies the ultimate revelation. The mastery of negativity is not about controlling others or creating a perfect environment. It is about cultivating a sovereign mind. When your energy is protected, your focus is unwavering, and your inner state is unshakable, you possess a power far greater than external circumstances can provide. Negative people, harsh words, and chaotic environments lose their potency because your mind has become its own fortress. Silence shields, reframing strengthens, detachment transcends, anticipation prepares, and integration ensures sustainability. Internalization transforms these principles into instinct so that every response emerges naturally from a foundation of virtue and wisdom. The life that unfolds is not just calmer, it is richer, more purposeful, and more aligned with reason and nature. As you reflect on this journey, understand that the practice is continuous, the mastery incremental, and the rewards profound. Energy preserved, peace sustained, and a mind free to navigate life's storms with dignity and clarity. Today, negative people may surround you, chaos may erupt, and challenges may persist, but your energy remains yours. The Stoic triad has forged an inner sanctuary that no outside force can breach. And in that sanctuary, you discover a simple, transformative truth. Peace is not given, it is earned. Through discipline, reflection, and unwavering commitment to the art of living. Let the world rage, for within you are serene. Let criticism fly, for within you are steadfast. Let negativity attempt to disrupt, for within you are untouchable. This is the Stoic mastery of energy, a power both subtle and absolute, waiting for you to claim and live every day.